Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another week. This is the last week of April, and I'm so excited about the month of April because it's one of my favorite months to celebrate and honor poetry. That April is Poetry Month, and in honor of poetry, today I would like to share a poem with you by one of the well known and renowned poets, Langston Hughes. Now, Langston Hughes lived and wrote during the Harlem Renaissance, and he was well established in how he discovered words to help express the feelings of African Americans, his own feelings about how things were during his time period and even prior to. So I am honored to be able to use him today to share a poem that actually is called Poetry Means the World to Me. So I'm going to read to you out of my book, and you can kind of follow along on the screen as I share this with you. Poetry means the world to me. It's how I laugh and sing, how I cry and ask why. Poetry comforts me when I use jazz or the blues, or the way regular folks talk, the language they use. Words don't always have to be neat and polished like a statue. They should be used to say what you like or don't like, what you see, think, or feel. Words to fight against hate and unnecessary suffering. Poetry is what I use to say, I love you. Now, we're going to do a lesson this week, each day this week, talking about different parts of poetry. So I hope you enjoy and I hope you participate in your learning and do the activities that are planned with each lesson. All right, let's have a great week. Now, let's look at poetry. Let's remind ourselves what is poetry and how can we use poetry to better understand what the words are really trying to tell us about a person's feelings. So, to help us this week, we're going to see how readers can figure out the meanings of words or group of words in poems by thinking about how they are used. We're also going to see how readers ask and answer questions about a poem. So, we're going to first today just talk a little bit about what we understand about poems. So, I have a poem here called The Ultimate Chocolate Chip Cookie. Now, as I share this poem with you, what I'd like for you to do is to think about this ultimate chocolate chip cookie. What is the poem made of? What makes up this poem? Does it have lines? Does it have stanzas? Does it have rhyme? Does it have a rhythm? All of those elements are what we need to understand in order to gather information about the poem. Is there repetition? And so forth. So we'll talk about that during the week as well. So let's first talk about the ultimate chocolate chip cookie. The ultimate chocolate chip cookies have a center that's gooey and warm. They are always fresh out of the oven with a perfectly circular form. The ultimate chocolate chip cookies have just as much chocolate as dough. They're cooked to a warm golden brown, a secret that only moms know. The ultimate chocolate chip cookies go best with some milk on the side and always fit well in your pocket for the extra you're trying to hide. And though they say sharing is nice, and I am inclined to agree, I must say I like them the best when it's only the cookies and me. Now, as we look at this poem, let's first look at the elements. What makes up this poem? So, first of all, does it have lines? How do I find the lines? Well, I do know I can just count every single line, which is like every single sentence if we were reading a paragraph. So I can count the lines. How many stanzas? Well, look for the groups of lines gathered together, kind of like a paragraph that we would read in a story. And then finally, does it have rhyme? Well, when I looked through this poem, I thought I heard some rhymes. So I want you to ask those questions, the makeup of the poem, to get an idea of what your ideas you're putting together and how they're organized. All right. Ask yourself how many lines are in there. How many stanzas? So when you have to look back and kind of think about what you've read, then you can get some ideas of where you would go. What are some rhyming words? Remember, you always look at the last word of each line to see if the sounds match another line, maybe within the same stanza. So I want you to pay attention to those things. All right. Now, in the end result, does this poem make you want to have chocolate chip cookies? That's what we need to know. Think about, how does the poet who wrote this poem feel about chocolate chip cookies? So, what we're going to do is kind of look at this further. All right. So, using this poem, how could we see, feel, hear, and think about what it's asking? So, I want you to kind of jot those things down. What can you see from this poem? Can you see the gooey of the chocolate chip cookie? Can you feel the warm of the chocolate chip cookie? Can you hear any type of crisp or sound when you chew into it? Hmm, what do you think? What comes to your mind? Oh, I wish that melting, gooey chocolate chip cookie was in my mouth right now. I'm gathering these feelings, I'm gathering these ideas to help me better understand this poem and make myself be a part of the poem so I can get that same feeling this poet is feeling about this chocolate chip cookie. It's going to make me want to go to get a chocolate cookie. But in any case, I want you to really focus in on poems and what they have to say. So, what I like for you to do in your reading book is to go in and I want you to read the poem that is in your assignment and see if you can answer some of those questions the same about that particular poem. And I would love to see your responses when you finish. All right, enjoy.